Motorola is flipping the script on flip phones in 2025, and that's because they're releasing 3 flip phones at the same time to the global market. We're talking about a basically base standard Razer, that's the Razer 2025, and we have the Razer Plus, typically what we've seen from them for the last 2 generations. And this year, we actually have an Ultra, which means they're actually shooting into the Ultra tier experience, a much more flagship experience, and pushing the limits of what we're able to do with this form factor. We have some improvements as far as the displays, the inside and the external display, as well as functionalities when it comes down to AI. This is TK, and let's go ahead and check out what makes the Motorola Razr series of devices so iconic in 2025. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we have new videos for you on the channel. So I've had the opportunity to check out some of the new announced devices and get some hands-on time with them. And essentially, as we talked about it at the beginning, there's 3 versions of these devices. There's the standard, the plus, and then the ultra. And they're pretty much basically living up to what they've done for the last 2 years. So they've learned from what they've done. And they're bringing in the Ultra series this year, which actually pushes the capabilities of what this form factor has been able to do in the past. Not only an improvement on the display side, but also an improvement in the crease presence on that device. So the better hinge mechanism that they're using in here. So a lot of little things here that kind of ultimately bring a better experience. And at its core, this is going to be the most AI-forward device from Motorola when it comes to a flip phone that we've seen them done before. They've released updates and new features, but this one, while they were informing us with all the information about that, they have so many collaborations with different companies. Like, you're literally able to pick from whatever system that you want, and they use the Moto AI aggregating system to allow you to get those functionalities built in here. So we're going to start off with the Ultra. That's going to be the brand new version here. Now, the Ultra is going to be one of those devices that are going to be releasing in basically 4 different colors. We have the Rio Red, we have the Scarab, we have the Mountain Trail, as well as the Cabaret. These devices are going to be launching with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, the best processor that we have on the market. We have 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to 512 gigs of internal storage on the carrier versions, but there is also going to be a special edition up to 1 terabyte on their website using UFS 4.0. The internal display has been upgraded actually now to 7 inches from what we had in the past, and we also have a 4-inch display, which is a continuation to what we had before on the external display, going all the way up to 165 Hertz. Dual stereo speakers, and one of the really nice things here, an upgraded battery size of up to 4,700 milliamperes, wireless charging support, as well as wired charging up to 68 watt, 30 watt with wireless, and 5 watt reverse wireless charging, which means this device is actually going to allow you to charge up other devices, which is definitely very nice. When it comes down to the cameras, this is where it becomes very unique. This is also one of the first devices to support a triple 50 megapixel camera stack, meaning the dual cameras on the back are 50 megapixels each, and the front-facing camera is the same. Also, there's a change from last year's Plus, which actually no longer carries a telephoto lens. We're actually going to an ultra-wide. So upgraded ultra-wide capabilities, a wider lens, also the ability of doing a little bit more on the macro side. And because we're using 50 megapixels on the main sensor, that means when we're cropping in on those images with 2x, we have a lossless zoom. And of course, one of the biggest things I'll probably say is when it comes down to the capabilities is now we actually even support 4K 120, which is definitely very appreciated when it comes down to creativity or the ability of creating content out of here. A 7-inch display is actually pretty big if you think about the fact that that's an internal display, so you don't necessarily have to even open it. We have Dolby Vision video support, of course, as I mentioned before, with stereo speakers. So the Ultra is really trying to captivate, on paper at least, all of those functionalities. Now, from the short amount of time that I was able to use it, I took a quick selfie in there as I'm showing you guys right now. Overall, the hardware is absolutely solid. Motorola has been doing this for many years now, and they not only have mastered this, they just keep refining it ever so nicely, from the improved 165 Hz refresh rate on this on the external display as well as the internal one. So hopefully the Ultra has basically piqued your interest. Now, let's talk about the Moto Razr Plus. Now, when it comes down to the Moto Razr Plus, they're using something of an interesting combination. They're using last year's best processor, so the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It is going to be relaunching with Android 15, so that's going to be really nice. This one gets a little bit different love as far as the RAM and storage. So we're still able to go basically into 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. So a little bit of a different experience, but still very, very capable. The display on the inside is slightly smaller at 6.9 inches, so I'm assuming on the higher end with the Ultra, the bezels are smaller so that we're able to push it up to 7 inches. So the 6.9 is the typical one that we've seen before. So think about this, that this is a continuation from last year's Plus, but it has some optimizations done as well. The camera stack that we have in here has also had some improvements in there, but the experience on the outside display is mirrored to what we've seen on the Ultra, 165 Hz, 4-inch display. So you're not going to be disappointed when it comes down to that experience in there. And the one thing I forgot to mention on the Ultra is that the peak brightness on the Ultra is actually even higher than what we've seen before. And that comes in at 4,500 nits, where the Plus comes in at 3,000 nits. Now, as far as the camera system here on the Plus, it's slightly different than the main one. We're still looking at dual 50s on the back, but we're looking at a main wide and a telephoto lens as opposed to an ultra wide. Also, the front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel camera, not a 50 megapixel camera. So slightly different experiences, but at their core, again, still powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So there's no question that we're still going to be able to get some really good footage taken either with the main sensors or even the front-facing camera on the inside display. Now, video capture here will be maxing out at 4K 60 frames per second. There is no 4K 120. That's also another thing that I feel like the Ultra is going to keep. But from a battery capacity and functionality, overall, we're looking at a 4,000 milliampere non-removable battery. This one actually goes up to 45 watts for charging, still one of the faster options on the market if you think about it. We do have wireless charging at 15 watts and 5 watts reverse wireless charging. So we're continuing the functionalities of what we see on the Ultra, but again, slightly tailored to be on the Plus side. Also, keep in mind, stereo speakers, Dolby Vision, those typical, and of course, all of the AI functionalities that we heard that were supposed to be coming to the Ultra should be coming to the Plus as well. We can't talk about the Plus and the Ultra without talking about the standard Razer, because we've had also some upgrades done on that one. Now, the Moto Razr this year has had some interesting upgrades into it and is still considered to be the most affordable version of the three that we have for 2025. What we're looking at here is obviously it's launching with Android 15. And when it comes down to the processor here, we're looking at the MediaTek Dimensity 7400X. It's an octa-core processor with a 4nm architecture that helps us power this device and provide us a great battery life and experience. It's going to be coming with 8 gigs of RAM with up to 256 gigs of internal storage and available in 4 different colors. The Spring Bud, the Gibraltar Sea, of course, the Parfait Pink, and the Lightest Sky. 4 great colors and, of course, different materials used on the back. Now, the battery on this is slightly smaller. It's a 4,500 milliampere battery. 30-watt charging is going to be here as far as the fastest on there, and 15 watts wireless charging. No reverse wireless charging supported on this unit. Now, the displays that we're getting in here obviously are going to be the smaller of the 3 options that we're getting. We're getting a 6.9-inch display at 120 Hz refresh rate on the internal display. This is typical what we've seen before. The external display is also slightly smaller, a 3.6-inch display that closer to a couple of generations ago's size, and I feel like this is what they're using, I guess, to bring down the pricing of this device. So it's not a 4-inch display, it's a 3.6-inch display, but it's still quite large because the fact that the actual display goes around the cameras on the bottom, so you're still getting a much bigger experience. Now, the cameras that we get in here are slightly different as well. We're looking at a 50 megapixel primary sensor, which I really like the fact that we're going with the best sensor there. We also have a 13 megapixel ultra-wide lens, so not a telephoto, but closer to what we kind of got with the Ultra in the sense that it's a main and an ultra-wide as opposed to a main and a telephoto. The front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel camera, kind of like the Plus. So again, kind of mirroring the experiences, a few selections from here and there. But I love the fact that we're seeing Dimensity in this conversation because we now have an option or a configuration that you can pick that should work the best for you. Next on the block is the Moto Fit. The Moto Fit is going to be something that if you're looking for a fitness tracker in the shape of a watch, this is going to be what Moto's offering for 2025. It has Bluetooth connectivity, obviously connecting us to our smartphone for obviously notifications and so on. Up to 16 days worth of battery life, which is definitely very appreciated. Now, there is no speaker or microphone. This is not intended to be again, fully functioning smartwatch, but essentially it's a notification system so that you can get the notification on your phone and find out that if you want to basically, interact with it on your smartphone or ignore it and come back and take care of it later. So the fact of the matter is that basically you'll have to charge this twice a month. As any fitness trackers, when we're looking at the functionalities that we're looking here, we have up to 5 atmosphere support, water resistance, and IP68 underwater protection. So you're able to go swim, you're able to run with this, and should be able to support almost every single activity that we'd love to do. And of course, give us all those metrics and a nice friendly UI smartwatch interface, currently supporting Android devices. And last but not least are the MotoBuds Loop. These are the latest earbuds that are available, and they're going to be offered for a unique experience. They're an open ear solution that allows us to actually clip the actual earbuds to the side of our ear, and it actually doesn't sit over our ear. So that's one of the approaches they're doing there. There's going to be 2 different colors in there. One of them, as I mentioned before, coming with Swarovski crystals, as beautifully modeled here by Isa Rodriguez. And what provides us here is a unique experience. We're getting sound by Bose configuration, so great audio, a 12mm driver on each bud, and it actually beams the audio straight into ear canal, but it still allows you to actually be aware of the environment, which means, unfortunately, no ANC, but I don't think this is the approach to this style of buds. If you're going for something like this, you want to be in the moment. You still want to be able to enjoy talking to people, but not necessarily missing out on any functionalities there. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is there's a couple of other smartphones that they did launch, and that's going to be more in the global market, the Edge 60 and the Edge 60 Pro. So those two devices, to my understanding at least, are coming to the international market. No word if they're coming to the US in the near term or if they're coming to the US at this point. But to summarize the experience, this is a Razer-focused experience. I mean, even the Razer Ultra has a dedicated AI key that's positioned on the side of it to initiate their AI assistant from the external display or even the internal display without having to even touch anything else. You press and hold the button and you can do that. There's a few other options that they also showed off where there was a continuous conversation mode with their assistant by just looking at the smartphone and using basically I guess the presence, the camera see the face looking at the device and it initiates the sensors there. So it makes it so that you're able to converse with their assistant without ever having to say a command word or even activate it by swiping around the display. So a lot of nice functionalities. The Ultra is getting a lot of that love, so I hope I get a chance to bring a video for you guys covering the Ultra and some of the other options that they're releasing for 2025. So with that being said, again, make sure to like and subscribe so that you know when I have my videos covering the hands-on experience, even more in-depth information on the brand new Razer Ultra, Razer Plus, as well as the Razer. And let me know in the comments below what questions or what features you'd like me to focus on in that video. Thanks to Motorola for allowing me to check out these devices and give you guys my initial impressions. Of course, I'm really impressed of all the things that they're doing right now, but more specifically, that they're trying to push the limit and change the conversation when it comes to flip phones. Better technology, better devices, more improved, and now an Ultra. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.